Welcome everyone to this informational webinar for the IPAM program for Mathematics of Intelligences that will be at IPAM this fall between September 9 and December 13, 2024. With me is, I'm Christian Ratsch, the Deputy Director at IPAM, and with me is Jacob Foster, the main organizer of the program. And Jacob, maybe you can introduce yourself for a second.
Yes, hi. Thanks so much, Christian. I'm Jacob Foster. I am a professor of cognitive science and informatics at Indiana University, and also an external professor at the Santa Fe Institute. And really excited to be here and tell you all about the long program.
Thank you, Jacob. So what we will do is this, we will talk about this long program, Mathematics of Intelligences. But first, I want to spend a couple of minutes to talk about IPAM and then hand it over to Jacob, who will describe in more detail this particular program. And then I will finish up to tell you a little bit more about how you can get involved and how you can attend and what are the different options and opportunities. So first, a few words about IPAM. IPAM is the Institute for Pure and Applied, Mathematics. We are an NSF-funded math institute, and we're located at UCLA. Our mission and goal is to bring together mathematicians and scientists from many domain sciences, or sometimes just mathematicians from different areas of mathematics, with the goal to foster the interactions of mathematics with these sciences and build new communities and collaborations. And this program of Mathematics of Intelligences is, of course, a prime example because it will bring together people from mathematics, computer science, social sciences, the humanities, and other disciplines as well. In these long programs, in this long program, our goal is to break down linguistic barriers between the different communities and in general highlight important mathematical problems and issues. Other goals of IPAM are to develop human resources and promote the use of mathematics in general. So, one can say our goal is to engage and transform the world through mathematics, and that's summed up in the IPAM tagline, math changes everything. Who are we at IPAM? I show you here the scientific leadership of IPAM. Dima Shletenko is our director. I am the deputy director. Selena Benialis is the associate director at IPAM. And Stan Osher has a position as the director for special projects of IPAM. And, all the scientific decisions, or most of them, are made by the director, the people you just say here. So then the question is, how do we fulfill our mission that I just described? And we do it with various activities. Our most important activities are long programs that last 3 months. And in fact, today we will talk about this long program on Mathematics of Intelligences. We also have one-week workshops, exploratory workshops, summer schools, other outreach and workforce development events, even industry events, and in the summer, we have undergraduate and graduate summer research programs. On the right here, I actually show you a picture that shows you the distribution of the background of people who come to IPAM, and you can see roughly half of the people who come to IPAM are mathematicians, and the other half come from all kinds of domain disciplines. So as I said, today we'll talk about the long program of Mathematics of Intelligences that will be happening at IPAM this coming fall. And I will hand it over now to Jacob, who will describe this program and all the workshops in it. And then I will talk more about the general structure and how to get involved in a program at IPAM. So Jacob, please take over from here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Christian. While I put up my slides here, I will just say that IPAM is one of my very favorite places in the world. And so I am really excited to have the opportunity to tell you all about this long program and invite you to spend some time with us at IPAM. To be blunt, the reason that we decided to organize this long program is because the quest to understand intelligences is really one of the great scientific endeavors. As all of you know, there has been tremendous progress in artificial intelligence research enabled by an unprecedented availability of data and computation and a steady stream of great new ideas about architecture, training regimes, tasks, and so forth. At the same time, some researchers within the AI space are pointing to the limits of these ideas in producing human-like or even animal-like intelligence. But just when AI researchers are starting to look around for new sources of inspiration, the relevant fields have really blossomed, thanks to breakthroughs in experimental and observational methodologies, many of them empowered by advances in machine learning. Scholars working on animal cognition have vastly expanded our appreciation of the sophisticated problems that can be solved by a range of taxa, from individual insects or birds or apes to swarms or flocks or troops thereof. At the same time, the human sciences have also matured. Scholars in these fields have revealed the many different ways that capacities are built in to humans by evolution, the way those capacities are built up by our developmental process and our enculturation, and the many different institutional frameworks that we humans have invented for building out our individual capacities into sophisticated platforms for collective intelligence, for everything ranging from economic markets to scientific disciplines. And finally, we've really developed a much richer understanding of the kind of hardware that can support intelligent behavior, growing that beyond brains to include complex collectives like flocks or even things like developing organisms. So what is missing from all of this excitement? These communities are all studying a common problem. They're seeking to understand intelligence in many different manifestations, hence the mathematics of intelligences. But I've also given away the fact that what is missing is mathematics unifying these communities. Each of these communities is developing its own mathematical and computational language to talk about some aspects of the broader phenomenon of intelligence, but we believe that the time is now to bring these communities together to make rapid progress towards foundational ideas, foundational mathematical ideas that would lead to a true science of the different intelligences that fill our world. In order to organize the long program, there's a wonderful core team with very wide-ranging expertise. Pranav Das from Elon, physicist who works on active matter. Jessica Flack from the Santa Fe Institute, an expert on collective computation. Boris Hanen from Princeton, who's a leader in the theory of deep learning. Tom Griffiths, also at Princeton, cognitive scientist and AI expert. Max Kleiman Wiener, who is now at the University of Washington in the Foster School of Business, an expert in computational cognitive science. Ulrich Peleg at Colorado, who's a computer scientist who, as you can tell from this picture, has the enviable task of studying the collective computation and behavior of bees. Pat Shafto from Rutgers, a mathematician, and Josh Tenenbaum at MIT, who works on cognitive science and AI. So we've got a really great group of people working with me to put this together. We're hoping to attract core participants that really reflect this kind of rich interdisciplinary balance that Christian was telling you about earlier, bringing people from mathematics, from theoretical physics, from theoretical computer science, from machine learning and AI. But we also want to bring folks from relevant domain sciences, whether that's cognitive science, animal cognition, developmental psychology, the sociology, anthropology, the range of disciplines that really speak to this question of natural and artificial intelligence, individual and collective, is tremendously broad. And we think grounding our discussion and our efforts to develop these mathematical foundations in both the current empirical finding from this range of disciplines studying natural and artificial intelligence, as well as the range of conceptual thinking, is quite essential. Indeed, we think that this current moment in our understanding of intelligences demands disciplinary breadth. It's our observation that what seems to be happening on both the empirical and the theoretical side is that researchers are regularly surprised by something that we observe. We think this is a signal that now is the moment to kind of expand our conceptual horizons to do science in a broader way, because the fact that we're constantly being surprised means that there are things that are a bit amiss in our current narrower conceptual and theoretical understandings. So the workshop structure is meant to highlight a range of topics that bundle together related mathematical problems and different modes of mathematical engagement. The topics we've chosen strike a balance, we think, between areas where there's high promise, but at best modest existing investment. Each of the workshops features an area where an infusion of new mathematical ideas would be transformational for some particular domain science, but at the same time, we think all of these topics are really conducive to developing rich new mathematics that is of autonomous interest. These workshops span everything from data analysis and modeling to fundamental theory. And for the core participants, the folks who spend the whole long program with us, we really think across these workshops and the other activities that we'll do during the long program, everyone will end up with a broad acquaintance with both the empirical and theoretical challenges in this domain on both the natural and artificial intelligence side. So I'm going to tell you now just very briefly about each of the workshops and the folks who are organizing them. The first workshop, Analyzing High-Dimensional Traces of Intelligent Behavior, is being organized by Vijay Balasubramanian at UPenn SFI, Dora Bureau, Rochester, myself, Max Kleiman-Weiner at UW, and Deanna Nadell at UCLA. And this workshop really focuses on the significant challenges in data science and data theory that are presented by the rich, complex, and large-scale data now available about intelligent behavior. These traces are typically high-dimensional. They have complex structure in space and time. We're often dealing with multiple data streams that need to be integrated somehow. For example, positional information collected from individual members in a bird flock combined with data about what they're looking at every moment in time, or electrocorticographic, corticographic recordings of human brain activity combined with detailed traces of motor behavior. And in many cases, all this data is buried beneath some complex noise environment. For example, individual animal movements need to be pulled out of some very cluttered visual background. Animal calls like whale song need to be pulled out of ocean noise, and so forth. This kind of complex high-D data requires new approaches to data representation, integration, and analysis. We hope this workshop will focus on the challenges raised by high-throughput, high-dimensional studies of intelligent behavior. We hope this will bring together experts in animal cognition, computational neuroscience, and cognitive science, together with mathematicians and computer scientists who are focused on relevant machine learning methods, network science methods, high-D statistics methods, and information theory. The next workshop is on the theory and practice of deep learning, and you can see the dates there at the top, October 14th through 18th. It's being organized by Misha Belkin, UCSD, Boris Hanen at Princeton, Julia Kemp at NYU, and Pat Shafto from Rutgers. And the sort of motivation here, I guess in this era of ChatGPT, should be quite obvious. Modern neural networks are operating at unprecedented scale and with unprecedented success in fields that range from NLP, natural language processing, to structural biology, like AlphaFold, computer vision, self-driving cars, etc. But trying to elucidate the emergent properties of learning in these vast artificial intelligence systems is now at the heart of contemporary machine learning theory and practice. And that's the central theme of this workshop, to try to understand emergent properties of learning at scale. These neural networks have confounded our traditional machine learning expectations and beliefs about, say, the danger of overfitting, the nature of optimization in high dimensions. They've led to lots of really juicy new empirical findings around things like transfer learning, adversarial examples, compressibility, these new scaling laws that relate the size of data sets, models, and compute, the importance of making your optimization methods adaptive, and so on. What we really need now is to explain and predict all of this, these new phenomena with a rich new theory of learning that can address the way that model and data and optimizers interact and interplay with one another at this vast new scale. For this workshop, we're going to bring together researchers who are driving the frontier of this work in the machine learning and AI side, with experts in both in theory and experiment for natural intelligence, creating a really interesting new scholarly discussion on how to frame questions about learning and how to distill the similarities and the differences between learning in biological and artificial systems. So we hope this will be a sort of different twist on the sort of theory of deep learning type workshop, and one that will drive that area in an interesting new direction. The third workshop on naturalistic approaches to AI will be November 4th through 8th. It's being organized by Stephanie Forrest from ASU and SFI, Tom Griffiths, Sumit Gawani from MSR, Martha Lewis from Bristol, and Josh Tenenbaum. And in this case, you can sort of take our previous example of deep learning as a clear case where new approaches to AI have been naturalistically inspired. And researchers have looked at other forms of biological inspiration. There are paradigms that are focused on developing distributed architectures based on biological evolution, on immune systems, on insect swarms. There are another paradigm that argues that a lot of the ways that we think really are more or less equivalent to programming, and the real task of intelligence is to understand how to infer programs from our real-world experience to solve problems. And these paradigms are exciting because of many appealing features. Evolutionary programming gives us a powerful way, arguably the way that nature has searched over learning architectures. These program synthesis approaches, which come from the thinking as programming school, are able to learn latent and interpretable programs for complex tasks that are beyond most conventional deep learning approaches. But what these approaches lack is a theory that explains their power. In both cases, you have optimization, sometimes combinatorial optimization, over really high-dimensional complex objective functions. In both cases, we're also dealing with basic objects, whether you're talking about sort of string-based representations or programs that are very richly structured, but don't have all the things that make richly structured mathematical objects easy to deal with, like obvious symmetries. So these kinds of things are rich mathematical objects that would be fascinating to explore in more detail and have not been studied as much as they could be. So this workshop is going to draw together researchers who are creating new algorithms and architectures, whether that's active symbol architectures, evolutionary programming, neural program synthesis, swarm computing, with mathematicians and theoretical computer scientists who specialize in the relevant mathematical and computational concepts: non-convex optimization, theory of programming languages, type theory, proof theory, category theory. Our hope is to promote cross-fertilization between these paradigms and the more traditional approaches, while also helping to stimulate the development of rigorous foundations for these naturalistic approaches to AI, in the same way as the theory of deep learning has been very richly developed over the past decade. And finally, the fourth workshop on modeling multiscale collective intelligence will take place November 18th through 22nd. It's being organized by Ian Kuzin from the Max Planck for Collective Behavior in Constance, Pranav Das, Jessica Flack, Govind Menon, and Orit Peleg. And in this case, the sort of basic motivation is the observation that all of these intelligent systems we've talked about are collectives, whether you're talking about individual organisms, which develop and heal and sense and act, whether we're talking about groups of humans and groups of animals, which use everything from flocks and swarms to institutions and cultural traditions to organize their intelligent behavior, whether you're talking about the brain as a collective of highly coupled and dynamic excitable cells, and then deep learning, which of course gains its power by combining billions of simple units into complex architectures, which in some cases even combine multiple learners or in multi-agent settings. And so all of this suggests that in order to have a scientific understanding of intelligence, we have to grapple with collective intelligence in a much broader sense than folks who work on collective intelligence like me often mean when you use this term. There are a range of rich mathematical and computational models that have been developed to explain and design intelligent behavior, in particular collective systems, and lots of mathematical fields providing inspiration. In this workshop, we're going to focus on sort of three very broadly applicable modeling frameworks from dynamical systems, statistical physics, and game theory. We also hope that this domain will help to cultivate sort of richer development of formal tools for treating compositionality, the way that things can combine to make larger effective systems, the emergence of new capacities and collective degrees of freedom at multiple scales, as well as the higher level institutions that coordinate the intelligent behavior of these lower level parts. So we hope that there are a range of kind of concrete and interesting mathematical outcomes. This is one set. So now I'm speaking to the mathematically oriented folks who might be interested in thinking about, like, what are the kinds of theorems that I could prove? What are the kind of hardcore mathematical results that I could expect to come out of thinking about these questions? So in the deep learning case, for example, this triple scaling limit of big models, big compute, big data require new limit theorems in drawing on probability, non-parametric statistics, and functional analysis in order to really understand how learning works in real settings where there's actually only a finite amount of time to learn. We're going to need new non-asymptotic finite time results in ergodic theory in an optimization. And of course, in lots of cases, as in the triple scaling limit, where you've got big model, big data set, big data dimension, we're dealing with these big high dimensional distributions. So that raises interesting new challenges in both estimation and inference with these high dimensional distributions. So in addition to developing techniques that are really useful to the domain sciences, this is just a very thin example of the kind of powerful new mathematical results that we hope will come out of all of this. Now, in order for this effort to succeed, I want to emphasize that we think inclusion is really key. We've emphasized the importance of disciplinary diversity, and because of this subject matter, the mathematics of intelligences, we're really hoping that this long program will reflect human diversity, given its implications for our understanding of the human condition, as well as the future trajectory of both our species and other species. We think the community that's producing that understanding really needs to be more representative. And so, again, I want to articulate our commitment to inclusion and hope that folks who are interested will apply regardless of their disciplinary background or their identity and life experiences. This is something that we think will be a more successful program the more inclusive it is. And to motivate you to come, the dream beyond these kind of concrete results mentioned earlier is to look analogously to cases like in the mid-2000s when probabilistic models of cognition were being developed, in the early 2010s when deep learning was being developed, and say, here is a really exciting opportunity to develop a robust mathematical toolkit for studying and understanding intelligences, much in the same way that mathematical methods for physicists have been developed, to transform the domain sciences by engaging with applied mathematics and data science. And the deep dream is to really see the beginnings of a deep formal framework for understanding intelligences mathematically, and see the way that all of these diverse intelligent phenomena, whether we're talking naturally or artificially, individually or collectively, have a deep underlying unity that's visible to us through the power of mathematics and mathematical abstraction. So in the same way that IPAM played a key role in probabilistic models of cognition, in deep learning, we think IPAM is the place to be to see the beginnings of this deep formal framework for understanding intelligences mathematically. So if you have any questions content-wise, please feel free to email me. There is my email address. And for any other questions, there are people at IPAM who know much better than I do. So I will turn it over to Christian to tell you all of the really important stuff that I don't know about.
Thank you, Jacob. And I hope that what Jacob just described really got everyone excited and interested to come to this long program. So I want to spend the last few minutes of this webinar to talk a little bit about, the general structure of a long program and what to expect if you come to a long program at IPAM. And, there are sort of three components to a long program at IPAM. And the first and most important one is this: we have what we call core participants. And we expect to have of the order of 40 to 50 people who ideally come for the entire 3 months. And we hope that you actually will consider coming for the entire long program as a core participant. Jacob just described there are 4 workshops as part of the long program, and there's in fact also a week of tutorials in the very beginning. That is very important to bring everyone up to speed and introduce common ideas and languages. But then, if you do the math, 4 plus 1 week, that's 5 out of 14 weeks. There are many weeks in between the workshops. And this is really what I want to emphasize a little bit. We do have some, I would say, less structured activities usually between the workshops. We call it the non-workshop weeks. And many people who come to a long program really find afterwards that these non-workshop weeks were actually the most valuable time at IPAM. The workshops, as just described by Jacob, will be great. We have fantastic people lined up as speakers. But what's happening in the non-workshop weeks, this will hopefully have a long-lasting impact on all of you who are coming to IPAM. So what should you expect if you come as a core participant to a long program at IPAM, to this particular program? As I just said, there will be 40 to 50 people coming to IPAM. Every core participant will get an office or office space at IPAM. And then when we have no workshops, typically people form what we call working groups, and there will be informal seminar series, mainly, of course, by the junior participants, but really by all. And what all of this allows you is to really talk in depth and collaborate in depth and length with people who you otherwise wouldn't talk to and collaborate with. You all have been to, conferences and workshops where you have a chance to talk to someone during a coffee break, 15 minutes maybe. And, sometimes you skip the next talk, so you have an hour to talk to this person, maybe go for lunch. And then you say, well, let's talk more about it later. But of course, life takes over, you all leave, and it's never going to happen. Here at IPAM, you have these 8 non-workshop weeks where you can really talk in depth and in length with people. And you will be able to form new collaborations, hopefully even get papers written, get grants written. So the point I want to make is this: I think everybody who's considering to come to IPAM to this program, because it is really exciting, as we just learned from Jacob, should really consider being there for the entire time, not just for the workshops. There are many things happening during these non-workshop weeks that are really very important to these long programs. We expect that the senior people, will provide some leadership and mentorship for the younger people. That's also something very nice. And one thing I want to stress is this: you can't just register to come as a long-term core participant because, we have space limitations and other limitations. So everyone who wants to come should actually apply and will then be reviewed and selected by the organizing committee. And if you apply and you get selected, IPAM will provide funding for housing, travel, and if there's something else you need, we can also discuss this. So we are very flexible when it comes to how we support long-term core participants. So if you want to apply, there's a webpage. Here's a link. You just go to the program webpage and then go to the application tab. It will look like this. And typically, if you apply, we want you to fill out a brief statement why you're applying, why you want to come. You need to submit a CV. And for junior people, you, of course, need to arrange for at least one letter of recommendation that we can review. The soft deadline for this program is in mid-April, but we will accept applications, anytime, basically until the program starts. So by all means, if you're interested in this program and you want to come, please apply to come as a long-term core participant. If you can't come for the entire time, but you want to come for one of the workshops, you can also apply to come to just one of the workshops. There are application links for each of the 4 workshops that look very similar to what I just described for the long program, and you can just go to that. So with that, I think we want to conclude this webinar here. We hope that you learned a little bit about this long program. We hope that many of you will consider coming. If there are any questions, if it's scientific, please email Jacob. If it's about IPAM, about coming to the program, please email me, or just in general to IPAM, and somebody will answer your questions. So thank you for watching this webinar, and we hope we will see many of you in the fall at IPAM at this one program. Thank you.